I think protest is a historically proven method of making change in the world. And we've seen that from women's suffrage to civil rights to some of the gains we've seen in today's environmental movement. Being in the streets is actually a really important part of our democracy and how we challenge people who are doing bad things in the world.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the RAN Wrap-Up, Rainforest Action Network's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly in news from around the world affecting the climate and all those that depend on it. As always, we're taking a look this week at the issues that will ultimately affect all of us, what we can do about it, and what we are doing about it here at Rainforest Action Network. If you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification. We'll send you an email when the next episode comes out. You're not gonna wanna miss it. I don't know why, but every episode's a different background. Last episode, I was in the suburbs of Boston, and now I'm in a farm in Switzerland. I don't know what's going on with my life, but I'm not complaining. In episode 2, we talked with Aditi Sen, the director of our climate and energy program. It was a great look into our corporate campaign strategy, but she also revealed what she thought was our greatest tactic in making change. So check it out over here. It was a great one. Don't miss it. But today we're talking with Scott Parkin, our organizing department director. This guy is a trainer, a coordinator, and an organizer in social justice and environmental movements. He's worked with anti-corporate global justice, anti-war, labor, environmental, and climate movements in North America, and in Europe and Australia. And let's be honest, like, his resume makes me feel exhausted. But it's also a good reason to mention again the upcoming Climate Week. If you want to join a whole bunch of people from all over and get out into the streets and protest, then mark your calendars for September 17th to 24 and start figuring out how to get to New York City. There's going to be panels and speakers and marches and actions and some surprises, I'm sure, but you won't want to miss it. So if you've been paying attention the last couple of episodes, you probably hopefully have a better understanding of our theory of change, our issues, and the ideas behind the concept of secondary and tertiary targeting. If you need a refresher, just go watch our interview with Ginger Cassidy. She breaks it all down. It's great. And that's why when I say you should understand that LNG and Liberty Mutual go hand in hand, I feel like that should be a chant or something. It's got a ring. But just in case, here's the deal. These big projects that are destroying the climate don't just need money to make it happen. They need to be insured. You can't just run out there and start building an LNG terminal right there on the fragile coastline in the middle of the frontline community. You need to have your project insured. Because let's be honest, it's not entirely going to go as planned. In fact, if history has shown us anything, it's definitely not going to go as planned. Here enters an insurance company, and they have to make a big decision. Do they support communities and the climate, or do they support big fossil fuel companies? And I think you know where this is going. So at the end of September, insurance companies will decide the fate of a key methane export terminal that actually exploded last year. It's called Freeport LNG in Freeport, Texas. It legit exploded. These terminals need insurance to operate, and in just 1 month, Freeport's insurance certificate is set to renew. Every methane gas facility further escalates the climate crisis, locks us into decades of reliance on fossil fuels, and harms the communities they're built in. So you know what time it is. We need you to send a clear message to over 25 CEOs and VIPs at a variety of insurance companies and demand they meet with impacted communities and refuse to insure any toxic methane gas facilities, including Freeport LNG. I know that sounds like a lot, but we made it easy for you. Follow the link down below, click a few buttons, fill out a couple boxes, and we'll take care of the rest. Honestly, we got you. Let your voice be heard. Okay, as I said earlier, we are talking with Scott from the organizing team to give us a glimpse into what his team is all about, what they're working on, and why here at Rainforest Action Network, action is our middle name. That's good. And we are here with Scott Parkin. I'm very excited to be talking with my friend Scott. First off, who are you? I've kind of already answered that question, but who are you? What do you do at RAN? And what drew you to work at RAN?
My name is Scott Parkin. I am the organizing director at Rainforest Action Network. And I've worked at RAN for a long time, for 17 years. And what drew me to RAN was Rand's focus on corporate campaigning and how we challenged some of the biggest players in the financial sector and the brands that are using products from tropical deforestation. There have been different times where we've directly challenged coal companies and oil companies. And so I really like Rand's sort of in-your-face sort of approach to dealing with these companies. And then the other thing is Rand's dedication to using nonviolent direct action as well as like people power to sort of challenge these corporate actors.
So as the organizing director, would you say that like protest is kind of part of your job description?
Yeah, I would say that I help organize and facilitate a lot of protests. Me and my team do a lot to protest and challenge these companies. And that can be everything from community events where we do a teach-in about the behavior of Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati to actually participating in nonviolent civil disobedience, at the front doorsteps of some of these companies.
We have a variety of different ways that we go after our targets, so to speak, from insider negotiations to protests to reports and things like that. What is the importance of protest in all of that?
I mean, I think external pressure on our targets is important. A lot of that manifests as protest. I mean, it also manifests as, what we see with our digital presence. It's also manifests in what we put out into the media. But I also think the three are connected. I think protest is a historically proven method of making change in the world. And we've seen that from women's suffrage to civil rights to some of the gains we've seen in today's environmental movement. Being in the streets is actually a really important part of our democracy and how we challenge people who are doing bad things in the world.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think when people look at an organization like RAND, they would assume that everyone here was an organizer or part of an organizing team. What sets the organizing team apart from the other teams that we have at RAND?
I mean, I think an important role that the organizing team plays, which is a little bit different from other teams at RAND, is it's our job to grow and develop and train and work with what I call the offline muscle to put pressure on our targets. That's a somewhat unique role at RAND. I've often had people who do the inside negotiation work say they actually are unable to do their jobs without the backing of movements and people in the streets behind them putting pressure on those companies. And my team are the best of the best, and they are the ones who are out sort of building that muscle. They're out there developing relationships. They're out there convincing people that we're fighting the good fight and they need to get involved.
So what's on your radar for the upcoming weeks, upcoming months that maybe viewers should know about or something that we can all tap into?
I would say that the two big things on my radar is one, the March to End Fossil Fuels in New York in mid-September. The actual march will be September 17th. And then we're also looking at mass direct action in New York during that week. And that week is actually the United Nations Climate Week. There'll be heads of state there'll be corporate leaders there, but then there'll be a lot of people in the street and they'll be taking a lot of action. New York is the home to in my opinion, the world's financial center. A lot of the big banks who are responsible for funding a lot of the really bad, oil and gas and coal actors in the world are headquartered there. And so we'll be seeing a lot of direct action targeting the banks, probably other actors as well, but definitely the banks are going to definitely feel some street heat that week. The other big thing on our radar is we've been part of a campaign against Procter & Gamble for over a year now. Procter & Gamble is a leading household products producer. They use palm oil in their supply chain, and we've been pressuring Procter & Gamble for their use of palm oil in their products. In October will be the Procter & Gamble annual shareholders meeting, and then we'll be seeing a lot of activity around that as well. The other big thing coming up is the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, which will be in mid-November in San Francisco, where we'll see heads of state, including Joe Biden, Xi Jinping of China, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida of Japan, as well as a number of corporate leaders, including the leaders of Exxon, Citibank, Procter & Gamble, will all be there, and that'll be in mid-November in San Francisco, and I would expect large protests at that as well.
Sounds like there's a lot of things for people to plug into and get involved in, whether it's Maybe it's letter writing or petitions. Maybe it's getting out on the streets and protesting. So
Yeah.
sounds like lots of things going on. Scott, thanks so much for joining us and filling us in on what the organizing team is and what y'all do at RAND. Keep up the good work.
Happy to talk to you, Jake.
Scott gave us a glimpse into what the organizing team is up to, and on episode 4, we're taking you into one of the most wild places left on Earth. It's incredible. You want to stay tuned for that one. If you'd like to get more involved in taking action or getting more info, head on over to our webpage at ran.org, that's ran.org, where you can join us in using people power to challenge business as usual. And why would you want to do that? Because we win.